So welcome to the next episode of AcademiX, and frankly, I'm quite excited to invite Dr. Antonis Kalemis. Antonis. He's a good friend of ours, and he has been lucky enough to traverse both the world of academia and in industry. And if you actually look into the topic, it says navigating the realms of academia and industry and finding your own fit. So we believe that you need to really fit yourself so that you feel or have a sense of belonging. So today we'll be asking some interesting questions to Antonis and get his views on how he navigated the two jungles. So Antonis, it's a pleasure to have you.
Likewise.
And just to start the interview, so can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you studied, where you actually came from, and why you choose to work and where you're working right now?
Okay, so hi, my name is Antonis Kalemis. I'm Greek. I was born in South Africa, but I grew up in Greece. And I finished my bachelor's as a biomedical engineer in Athens, Greece. And then after my military service, moved to the UK, where I continued my studies and then started working. Work basically brought me eventually to Germany and where I am at the moment.
Okay. So you said that you started in Greece, right? So you did your bachelor's in biomedical engineering. Mm-hmm. And what was your master's about?
So my master's was at the University of Surrey in the UK.
Okay.
And that was about medical physics.
So why did you transfer from biomedical engineering to medical physics?
So I actually don't. When people ask me, I say that I study stuff around nuclear medicine. So during my bachelor's, I got attracted into image processing and nuclear medicine for various reasons. If you ask me, most likely because I had a great teacher at the uni who was doing ionizing radiation.
You mean in your bachelor's or in your
bachelor's?
Bachelor's, okay.
From that point onwards, I was trying to tailor my projects during my master's and my PhD around nuclear medicine. So.
Okay. So the thing is, you still started in Greece. Why did you decide Surrey or the UK to do your master's? Was there any specific reason?
Sure, because back then in Greece, you could not do a medical physics master's unless you were coming from physics discipline at the university.
Okay.
It was like a closed discipline. Mm-hmm. Still is, up to a certain extent. Therefore, if you wanted to do anything in this area, especially when you finish something like a technical university like myself, you had to go abroad.
So when you went to UK and you started your medical physics, did you find some kind of difference between the education system that you did in Greece and to the exposure that you had in the UK?
Oh, for sure. The system was completely different. I wouldn't say better or worse. Certain things were significantly better, but also the topic was different. So during my bachelor's, the focus was more on technical aspects. Mm-hmm. And then when I moved to the UK, the focus was more about physics and more theoretical aspects of radiation and stuff. So. It was significantly different. Also, in the context of nuclear medicine, at that point, and that was 1996 when I finished my bachelor's. In Greece we had a few gamma cameras, which were most of them like 6, 7, at least years old. So don't laugh. And then when I moved to the UK in early 2000, there were 5 PET systems across the country. Okay. Of which, I would say 7. Of which 5 were in London. Mm-hmm. And of those 5, 3, if not 4, were at the Cyclotron building at the Hammersmith Hospital, the MRC building, basically.
Cool. So you did your master's in the UK, and when did you decide that you would like to do a PhD? Were you always...
When I left Greece, I wanted to do a PhD. So
you decided during your bachelor's?
Yeah.
Wow. Any particular reason why? Were you bleeding to do why were you so bleeding to do a PhD?
Because it was for me interesting to see the developments in the field, and I thought that by doing a PhD, I would it will enable me to learn in depth what I had in what I want, what nuclear medicine was all about.
Okay.
And when I went to the UK, I found out the hard way that you need money to fund for your PhD. So instead of doing a PhD, I did a master's, which I financed myself.
Okay.
And then I was extremely lucky to find the right institution that had PhD studentships for not only for people from the UK, but also from the European Union. And I was extremely lucky to find the supervisors that eventually were supporting me during this PhD path.
So when I hear about your rationale for choosing your PhD, it almost felt like it was a romanticized version of to do a PhD. How close was it to your romanticized version when you were actually doing your PhD?
I think I must be fair. So when you come from a physics degree in a university, you are much more well positioned to continue doing a physics related PhD. I mean, I had to learn statistics ground up. I mean, my statistics knowledge when I started my PhD beyond the mean and standard deviation was 0.
Okay.
So I will never forget the first discussion with an older PhD student about t-tests.
Okay.
And I thought, maybe this was a mistake. But eventually I managed to finish, and my PhD actually was on statistical parametric mapping.
Actually, that's pretty good, right? From 0 to really the cream of the creme.
Yeah.
But during your duration of your PhD, I mean, of course, you had to start everything from ground up. Were there any moments where you felt, okay, you know what, screw this, this is too hard for me, or you were really determined to?
No, I think that once you start something, you have to
finish it.
Finish it. I mean, it's. I would say that there are no lost opportunities, but devoting 2 or 3 years of your life into a cause and not getting anything out of it. I mean, I've seen some people who we started together and then basically they dropped off. They still have a good life and they still manage to have nice jobs. But I always thought that, for me, since I decided to do this and I was interested in this specific field, then I had to finish it. And it was actually fun. It was really fun. And the most important thing, I believe, the fundamental part that one needs to investigate when starts a PhD is not necessarily the subject, as much so as the supervisor.
Okay, yeah, that's actually a fair point. But you were really craving for a PhD. Did you actually see? You must have had other peers who are doing their PhDs as well. Did they have the same? No, they didn't have the same mindset. Or?
Well. Again, my colleagues from my bachelor's years, we were all basically, when we finished, we had to go, men had to go to do their military service, which at that point was 2 years. And then usually we're trying to find a job. And usually those jobs were application specialist or field service engineer of some sort, of some modality. Or you would go outside and do a master's. And then those people who went and did their master's, a significant proportion continued to PhDs.
Okay. And the basic question was, when you were doing your PhD, you must have had other fellow PhD students. Were they also bleeding for something similar? Like saying that I'm here because I want to do this, this and this, or they just randomly chose a path and thought, let's see what happens, meaning going with the flow. Do you think they had a plan?
I cannot say for sure about others. Basically, because of the setting back then, I mean, the Institute of Cancer Research in the UK was an institution that they admitted like 20 students per year,
Okay.
all postgraduates. And of those 20, at that point, there were like 5 of us who were physics-based, or 7. And these were split between radiotherapy, MRI, ultrasound, and nuclear medicine.
Okay.
So every take, let's say, I mean, at least in my take, we were 3 students who did the PhD in nuclear medicine,
Okay.
but completely different topics. So, and if I see them now, I mean, they all have very good careers.
Yeah.
I'm the only one in industry. They are professors in academia,
Okay,
and
now
very
we-
successful ones.
Now we come to the interesting part of the question, and my favorite part of the podcast. So, coming to the $1 million question, why leave academia? You had like a very romanticized version of PhD. So, if I'm a layperson seeing out from outside, I would think, okay, Antonis really wanted to do his PhD. He's going to stay in academia. He's going to be a full prof, wearing a bow tie and visiting conferences. So, why transition to industry?
It was primarily luck, and I believe very much in luck and random processes. Actually, random chain of events, because one point to the previous one is related, but it has a significant amount of randomness. So it's not completely independent, that's what I'm saying. So the reason why I moved from academia to industry was by chance.
Okay.
When I was finishing my PhD, my supervisor had already left to go to Australia. And we were working for the last year and a half through phone calls.
Okay.
So he offered me a postdoc at the University of Sydney.
Okay.
And everything was done. I sold my car and everything in London. I was about to move with my then girlfriend, now wife, to Sydney. And he advised and said, well, why don't you go to this company that I have some consultancies and show them what we did and see if they're interested in having a project with us.
Okay.
So I went there, I did a presentation, and at the end of the meeting, I got an offer for a job there.
Okay.
And it was purely a matter of rationalizing, family, distance. I must admit that going into a radiopharmaceuticals company at that point in time, and coming from an NHS hospital, from having an office at the lower background, was quite overwhelming and intriguing. So I thought, yeah, I'll give it a try.
So the main reason for you moving from academia to industry is, would you say it's just the circumstances, like family, and also the offer?
It was a very interesting position. It was in an R&D department doing very interesting stuff. I mean, we were, I would say, pioneering the concept of radiopharmaceutical and software. And still the products that came out of that still exist in certain workstations, in one company's workstations. So the whole concept was intriguing. The project was intriguing. And I think that, I mean, if the theme of my decisions is mainly how exciting the projects were in front of me. Okay.
And when you actually moved from academia, did you have any kind of industry experience before? Or this first job that you got was your first real industry job?
I was, during my bachelor's, I did a 6 months placement in a company as a field service engineer, shadowing engineers. But that was all.
Okay, so this was really new for you. And you said you did feel overwhelming. But when you went into the industry, did you find the environment to be so drastically different from academia? Or you said, yeah, it's a different environment, but we do the same things?
It was an environment that we did similar things, but with a completely different structure and mindset. There were, in my opinion, there is much more order in industry, and having projects that they have perhaps a shorter horizon focuses a little bit more what you need to do, and also, but to be honest, at the end of the day, you have to get your projects funded. So in academia, you need to apply for external funding. In industry, you have different opportunities, internal and external. But the aim is to have something and to have some success for the project that you are pitching in front of the funding body.
Okay, so you actually mentioned some brief hints about the differences between academia and industry. What do you think is the biggest difference between these two entities when it comes to doing science?
It's a good question, and it's not easy to answer it. So I think that they are complementary parts of the same, or if you wish, two different sides of the same coin. So academia does perhaps a little bit more blue sky research, and you don't necessarily, or that's how it should have been. You don't necessarily do projects to have like a product coming out of them that you will get it into the market. You are doing science for the good of the society, and then there
we
is
like to think so, but
correct. And these borders have been substantially removed these days, because there are many universities craving for startups and spin-offs and financing projects that they have a commercial horizon. And at the same time, you have industry where we have defined projects that ultimately will lead into a product or a service. But we also have other ideas that they might never find a market path just there because of other needs. Let's say, for example, securing intellectual property or identifying future needs for future projects, but not necessarily exactly what you're doing at the moment.
Okay. So I have a question about the funding bodies. In academia, it's very clear. The funding is going to be the state or some kind of private donation. How does it work in an industry? So assume that you have a brilliant idea today. Yeah?
Yeah.
How would you go to an industry or your peers and say, okay, I have this idea. Which funding body would you pitch it to?
It really depends. So when you say industry, you have to understand that there are very different aspects of. I mean, there are different departments even in one company. So assuming my whole experience were always with big companies. So I don't have experience with startups. But in big companies, you, for example, can be at an R&D department, and even at an R&D department, depends when you are an R&D attached to a business line, then your horizon of development is much closer, or you are like a corporate R&D department where you might have like blue sky research projects, as we were discussing earlier. Again, my experience is with R&D departments attached to business lines. If you have ideas, these ideas should be discussed within the team, and the team will basically assess or rank those thoughts. And depending on the existing targets of the company, will prioritize and fund immediately or later your proposal.
Okay. So it's still going to be within the industry. They allocate a pot of money if they find it useful for their business aspects.
In one way or another, in the broader sense. And of course, there are collaborations, scientific collaborations with external entities, like, for example, a university. And there you might, for example, apply for external grants as well. But this is less frequent than, for example, what you do in academia.
Okay. Do you think that your academic experience that you had till your PhD helped you to accommodate quite well in an industry setting? So, for example, obviously the science helps. But do you think of any soft skills that you learned during academic times that help you survive industry in the first few years or even now?
Organizing. So and that's also what I see when I interview people for positions that we have in the company now. If you see someone that comes from academia and he's a PhD level, for example, you expect that it went through an arduous process of identifying the project itself, but also him or herself as well, because it's a process that redefines you. That it has, or he or she has persevered this process and has had the stamina to go through it and finish it. And of course, there are other skills, like for example, making a plan and following the plan, and if you find problems, have some toolbox for solving those problems. Sorry. So this is basically what a PhD gives you. It doesn't give you only the title. The title is the list. What it essentially gives you is the toolbox to solve problems into a way that it is recordable, and you can trace the path.
So if you think about academia now, what do you think were the best things about academia, and what were the worst things what do you feel personally are the worst things about academia?
Well, I don't think that I'm the right person to comment about academia, because I left it many years ago. But what I see from the distance, enabling the collaborations between our company and academic institutions, I would say that perhaps the targets, or how the projects are defined and funded, for me raises some questions.
Okay.
In my opinion, a big side of the applied sciences have reduced the project's horizon to accommodate early results.
Okay.
And you have to demonstrate those early results as a department in order to be able to fund further your other projects.
Okay.
In my opinion, I'm more of a classical guy, so I would expect that universities have also, apart from these short-term ideas and concepts, also longer-term and basically more fundamental research kind of projects, which I don't see at the moment, especially in our field.
Do you think it has changed from the time that you did your PhD and now?
Gradually, yes, but it was also back then the same.
It was the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now it's become
worse.
Yeah. That's my personal opinion. As I said, I left it.
No, also because we see the same thing as well. So we have inside jokes saying that academia has become to a business right now. Like
Unfortunately, this is the case. So, in my opinion, it would be very difficult for me to go back to academia, because I cannot. I think that it would be very difficult to manage these project proposals that you need to have 5 different academic institutions and 2 small to medium-sized enterprises and 1 big enterprise, and then bring them all together and make the work packages. And by the way, you need to have like an external agency that manages the submission for the. It is from one side you can say yes. External funding bodies are investing money, so they expect from you to be rigorous with your proposal. But I think that there is a whole. This could have been much more or better rationalized, if you wish. But again, this is me speaking from a distance.
No, but I can vouch for this. It's pretty similar. And again, we have jokes saying that we are moving in the direction of a business, but bad one. Because we are not really, we don't have the infrastructure in order to do such kind of research. But anyway, so if you think about industry now, what do you think are the best parts of the industry as an academic who went to an industry, and what are the not so good parts?
It really depends on the person. It's not good and bad. At the end of the day, it's about the team that you've got, your colleagues, your supervisor, or your managers. But that's common both in academia and in industry. prefer the projects that we run in industry because they're well defined with a crisp ending point that you can see in the horizon. And if there is an issue with the project definition, then basically you can reshape it or you can close it down, and then you can move the resources to a different project. But again, I'm not the right person to do this comparison because I left academia a long time ago.
So what would you say is the right time for an academic? So assume that someone finishes their PhD right now, to leave academia and go to an industry if they want to. So because some people actually decide, okay, I finished my PhD, let me wet my waters in academia for a couple of years as a postdoc and then move to industry.
I don't think that's the right moment.
Okay.
It's like marriage and having children. if the right moment
Just
comes,
go with
you
the
will know it.
Okay.
So it's purely a matter of chasing your dreams and being open to opportunities. That's it.
Okay.
One thing for sure is that I see less and less the backflow. So once you came into industry, few people go back to academia, but this is not necessarily because of salaries differences. It's not about. It's more about the expectation that academic sites have, and how they qualify candidates for academic positions. And fortunately or unfortunately, this is not. The criteria are not the same. With respect to defining success and prospects for success between industry and academia.
Okay.
So, for example, you might be a very good scientist in industry and not necessarily have too many publications and projects won, because your department has a different focus. That doesn't make you a worse scientist, but it's more difficult for you to substantiate your application, perhaps, when you apply in academia.
So you think academia is making it harder for scientists?
No, I don't think it's making anything harder. I think it's purely a matter of the two fields are moving and how they define success, and it's the society that pushes in different directions. Industry and academia.
Because the reward system in academia is basically papers, the grants that you get, and in academia, in industry, it's going to be different.
It depends where you are. Yes.
Okay. So what would you actually say to people who are just starting their masters and have no clue on where to go to, like industry or academia? What should they prioritize?
Try to get some experience in industry. So you have experience in an academic institution because you are doing a degree. Try to get a placement for 2, 3, 6 months in industry and see how you like it or not. Be open to new ideas. Be open to people. Talk to people. And once you have decided to move to industry, great. Think about whether you leave behind the dream of becoming a professor and how solid that dream can become a reality. But again, the fact that you move from academia to industry should not prevent you from going back. It might be difficult, but it's not impossible. And I have seen people going back to industry, from industry to academia as well.
Okay, but have you seen people who are late bloomers? Basically, they did their postdoc for 5 years and then they decide, academia is not for me because I've been waiting for tenure, never happened, but now I want to go to industry.
Yes, I've seen those people. It's a little bit more rare, and usually those decisions come with changes in private situations as well. But it's not uncommon, and also I can say that they can actually land very good jobs in industry as well.
But industries are still open to accommodating postdocs who are like 5 or 6 years in an academic setting?
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah?
Definitely.
Wow. So this is new, and I've learned a lot personally today regarding these both the worlds, and I hope you find Antonis' advice on choosing your path. Make a plan. That's very important. Having a plan
is almost important in choosing a direction. And I think that also, in my opinion, someone should not be planning the career. Someone should be planning having fun with the projects that has now and the next projects that are coming. In fact, be open and just embrace new things that come. And if you find yourself into a situation where you don't like it, it's fine. Go and find something else.
Okay, so that was a short and sweet response. Thank you, Antonis, for doing this. And we hope to see you again in our next podcast episode. And thank you, and cheers from Leipzig.